I watched Jeremiah's interview on the Viall file, so you didn't have to, and you're welcome because it was over an hour. And while he said he does not have his phone back, I don't think Jeremiah is going to be returning to the villa because he did say he has talked to family members and he has seen the show. So obviously the bubble that he's been living in for the past couple of weeks has been bursted. And he definitely knows what America is thinking. So I'm going to tell you about the whole interview, but let's get into the Huda of it all because I know that's why we're all here. So Nick asked, when did things get rocky and what didn't we see? He said that everything went bad at Pancake Day. He said up until that point, they had like 8 really good days. And he says that he thinks where things went downhill was they had a conversation previously where he was telling her how he operates in relationships, how he is, things he does. And he gave an example of saying, you know, I told her that when I'm in a relationship, I do flowers, I do the little things like dates, things like that. And he said after that conversation, like the next day, she started expecting those things from him. He says that she took that as how he needed to be now and didn't take it as how he is in a relationship, like how he would be in the future when they're in an actual relationship. And he said instead of telling her that he was uncomfortable at the pace that they were moving, he started trying to meet her expectations. He said he does take responsibility for not nipping it in the bud and clarifying this is who I am when I'm in a relationship and we're not in a relationship, and that he should have clarified that it takes him months to get to that point, not 3 days into the villa or 3 days into knowing somebody. He said the expectations not being set right mixed with getting intimate too fast. Now, he didn't clarify how quickly they got intimate. He just said they got intimate really quickly. Nick did ask if it was sex, and he said he didn't want to kiss and tell, but we all know she admitted that it was sex. Nick did ask if he's fallen fast in other relationships, and he said no, it's actually not who he is. He usually takes months to date somebody before getting into an official relationship, like at least 8 months before getting into an official relationship. He did say he's only been in love 2 to 3 times, which I feel like is a lot for a 25-year-old, but who am I? He did explain the cheek kiss. He said that cheek kiss wasn't because he just liked Huda so much. It was because he didn't want to get stolen by Yulissa, which makes sense. Like Yulissa probably would have stolen him, and instead she stole Ace because of that cheek kiss. So it wasn't coming from a place of liking Huda so much. It was more so coming from a place of not really liking Yulissa, which fair, you know? He said what drew him into her was her gaze and her smile and the way that she looked at him. He said that they had a lot of conversations about values that they really aligned on. He actually said that he feels like Huda emotion fished him, not catfished him, but emotion fished him because, you know, he thought she was really emotionally mature and that they aligned on a bunch of emotional values. So she checked his boxes physically, emotionally, spiritually, and he didn't want to talk to girls that he wasn't interested in. Now, Nick did ask about his winning comment and if he was game playing, and he said he can't fake anything. And the minute that he was unhappy, we were all visibly able to see that. He said if that was the case, he would have had like a plan B, a plan C. He said that in the door recoupling, like if he was game playing, he could have just chosen Huda and decided to like make that relationship work if it was for the sake of the game. Now, Nick did bring up the fact that Huda thought that they were boyfriend and girlfriend, thought that they were in love, thought that they were in a full-blown relationship. He said that for 2 weeks, the guys were telling him to have chats with other people and were encouraging him to talk to other people, and he just didn't want to. He said things took a turn at the baseball challenge. He said that she was pissed. He kissed Amaya. And he said that he found himself doing things in challenges, which I think we visibly saw of like trying to make it not that bad, like trying not to be into the kiss or trying to like give cheek kisses because she got really upset and he just didn't want to deal with that. He actually said that she talked really bad about Amaya. Like she told him that she did not like her because I guess Amaya made some comments about Jeremiah, and he said that she made it very clear that she did not like Amaya. So anyway, he said like he felt like a lot of pressure about participating in the challenges. So he didn't want to get in trouble. He didn't want to get yelled at. And basically right before the lumberjack challenge, they agreed that they were just going to enjoy the challenges. He wanted to be himself and he wanted to participate in the challenges. And if you guys remember in the lumberjack challenge, she still got upset that he kissed Olandria in that challenge. He said he does feel like their journey was portrayed accurately based on what he's seen. He has seen the show. And now he did say he still cares for her very deeply, but there was a lot of instances where they would be talking and she would crash out. He approached every question very delicately. He kept saying respectfully, he kept saying, I don't want to be an asshole, whenever he was going to say something that might be viewed as negative towards her. So he did try to approach the interview very delicately. I will say that. He says watching it back, he did have moments of yelling at himself on the screen and saying, you know, don't take that, like defend yourself. He said, but in the moment, he wanted to take time to reflect to see if it was really him that was in the wrong or her that was in the wrong. That's why you see him having lots of conversations, like just trying to process like who's actually wrong in this moment here. He says again that he should have better communicated that things were moving too fast and that the expectations were too high and that he should have communicated it was too much for him. And he said he did the opposite and he tried to be a person he wasn't ready to be because he didn't communicate his feelings. And he said the reason for that was because he liked her so much and he did want to keep going. He said he didn't have a clear mind on if it was her or him, so he heard her out for hours and hours. Now Nick did ask about the mom moment and he said he wasn't mad that she didn't say it sooner. He understands that, you know, she didn't want to be labeled as just the mom. He said it just caught him off guard. And Nick goes on to explain that Nick's wife always felt that the mom comment was rooted in like she would say, I'm a mom instead of like, I have a daughter. And it was very like centered around herself. And actually Jeremiah says her talking about a mom was very centered in her, and he noticed that watching it back. She likes what I like, she's like me. And he said he noticed a lot of I, and that was a common theme in their conversations. It was very I centered. It was based around herself. And he said that the girls in the house said the same thing, that when she's talking, it's all centered around her and her emotions. That Hannah said the same thing. And he said that she never asked him questions about himself. He said there were conversations about her daughter that we didn't see on screen. They had at least 2 to 3 conversations about it. As far as the Iris recoupling, he said at that point there were cracks in the relationship that he wasn't vocalizing. He said basically they were in a relationship, but he felt like they weren't even dating, but he did like her. He said initially he was upset about the recoupling, but in that moment is when he realized like, yeah, America is also seeing what I'm not able to vocalize. He said right before that recoupling, they had a long talk about how they were going to move forward. He said that after the recoupling, like, although he realized like, okay, America's seeing what I'm not able to vocalize, he didn't want his ego to take over and automatically assume that it was her and not him. So he like slowly pulled out to reflect. So he said once he's seen that and had the emotions he felt when it was between Charlie or Huda going home, he said, I need to communicate more. Now, I wish that Nick would have like asked more about the emotion he was feeling when it was between Charlie and Huda going home, because I feel like he was trying to say like the emotion of like wanting her to go home. That's just my opinion. Nick didn't ask a follow-up. He actually, you know, got on him about not checking on her. And he says that it was a moment of weakness. He should have checked on her and he has to just take responsibility for that because he should have checked on her. He said he did apologize, that speakeasy chat was like 2-3 hours and most of it was spent of him apologizing because he said he shut down and it was a weak moment. He's disappointed in his response, but they did spend about 2 to 3 hours talking. And he said most of that conversation consisted of her saying that she's hurt and he wanted to conflict resolute, but it was more a conversation about how she felt and how upset she was. He did say that she was convinced that he was doing things behind her back. She said, you're not doing what you're supposed to, and that's why America took you. When I make cute comments, you make faces and people see that. And he said that she would make comments about marriage and kids. Because she didn't get the response she wanted, she would take that as him not liking her as much as she likes him. Nick did ask, do you think that she was still going to pursue you after the final conversation? At first he said it's hard to say, but it doesn't matter because of the stuff he heard her saying, the name calling. That's where he draws the line. He says that's what really took him out of it. Apparently she said that if he made her food, she would shove it in his face. I missed that. But he said after he heard the name calling, it was over no matter what. So he says, I don't think she would have. Then he says, actually, that's cap because she did try every day up until he left to talk to him or kiss him or something like that, which we did not see. And that night in the hallway when we seen her get up and he didn't go check on her, he said the rules, it's against the rules. Like at night, once you're in your bed, you're supposed to stay in your bed. He said he wanted to be there for her, but that was the same night he heard her calling him all kind of names. And he says watching it back, he noticed cracks that he didn't see before, like her comments to Iris during the leather challenge. He said things like that would be cute if they were actually in a relationship or dating for months, or even closed off and he just watched it and thought to himself that it's not healthy, which I think we all saw. Okay, go to part 2 because we're going to talk about the boys and what he had to say about that, the whole Ace Nick Taylor debacle. Here's part 2 of Jeremiah's interview on the Viall Files. You're welcome because it was over an hour. If you missed part 1, it was the Huda of it all. Now we're going to get into the boys. But his final thoughts on Huda, because I didn't have time to fix it in the previous video, he said that it was very real and genuine, and it got toxic because he didn't dead the crazy expectations that she set for him early on. He said communication at the end wasn't perceived well. He said he tried to de-escalate a lot and she would crash out. He said, and what he's learned from it is not to be intimate too soon, and when things are moving fast, to speak up, and that they have very different communication styles. So in regards to the boys, Nick actually played that viral clip from TikTok that's like, there's a difference between a snake and a rat. A snake is da-da-da-da-da, and they're showing Ace, and they're like, a rat is a da-da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? So Jeremiah kind of laughed at the clip, and Nick told Jeremiah the Ace ringleader theory and that the 3 of them are like the mean girls. He just kind of says like, yep. And, you know, Nick explains like our theory, like what America, or, you know, most of America feels and sees, the whole jealousy aspect. And Nick just kind of asked if Jeremiah sees it the same way that we do. And Jeremiah says he does, that he believes that they eliminated him because basically they were jealous because he was getting all of the girls and he was competition. He says that he feels like it was a strategic move on their part and a smart move on their part because he was hooping, which I think that means like bagging bitches, you know? He said he was really upset the first few days of his elimination. He said he did want to say his piece at the end, but he chose not to because he didn't want it to escalate. He said, you know, they told him to explore for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then he does. And he said he was trying to do it the right way with Andrina, friends first, and not get intimate too fast. And he still got eliminated. And he said those were not his peoples for real, not his boys. He said, not my peoples for real. I said, basically he's saying them not his friends. He said he noticed within the first week that things were like really clicky between the boys, but he said that they were so funny and they had good moments where he thought that the clique had dismantled, but then something would happen and it would get clicky again. He does say that Nick and Taylor followed whatever Ace said. He said that he was surprised watching it back, seeing Taylor had so much to say. He said because Taylor never said anything to his face, and it was only the comments behind his back that he heard or saw. So he said that surprised him. He said he did feel betrayed by the decision, and that Andrina was gorgeous and hilarious, and that they had a strong connection. So he does, again, feel like it was a strategic decision to vote him off. He said he does feel like Ace drove the conversation because there was a lot of like, yeah, he's right between the 3 of them. He said, but he does think the decision was all 3 of them and that Ace could have delivered the news. He said he never received a man-to-man conversation about why. It was just a simple like, it's not personal, we love you. Nick did ask if he believes that Ace had, you know, liked Huda or whatever, and that was the reason for it all. And he says he can believe it because of the blindfold challenge. Like Ace did get up and kiss Huda. And Nick did ask about Ace allegedly liking Huda's photos. I seen a video that surfaced that Ace had allegedly liked some photos of her. And I don't know the validity of that because when I went back and checked those same photos, there were no likes from Ace. So I feel like that was fake. Or whoever's running his account could have liked them or unliked them. It's really hard to tell what happened before the show started, once the show started, if that makes sense. And he says that he feels like Ace didn't like him since the moment he curved Yulisa and Shelly got stolen from him. But that makes sense. But also when he had a chance to pick Shelly, he didn't. So. And Nick did make sure to tell him about all the memes of Ace's feet not touching and said that America is being petty for him. And he did say he gets the Mean Girls reference because that is how it felt in the end. So that was like the juicy stuff. That was like the boys of it all and the Huda of it all. So let's rewind to talk about how he got cast on the show. He said that casting actually reached out to him 2 years ago, but he was in a relationship. So he wasn't able to do the show, obviously. And he said that they circled back around in February and he was single. He said he had just ended his relationship. They reached out in the beginning of February, or they broke up in the beginning of February, and at the end of February, casting reached out and he said, you know, he went for it. He says he was familiar with the show because all of his sisters watched the UK version, and he did watch 3 episodes of last season just to like get an idea of what it was. He said he's feeling gratitually. He said he's feeling a lot of gratitude, but he's pissed that his comeback got cut short and he was trying to do things the right way and still got the boot. He did talk about his past dating life a little bit. He says in college he never dated. He said in the past he stayed in talking stages for too long because he hated labels and like anniversaries, the commitment of a relationship basically. And he said when he finally got into a relationship, he cheated after 1 month, which I think we hear him talk about on the show. He said he really beat himself up about it because he didn't know how he could do that to somebody, because he really prided himself on being a certain type of guy, a good guy. And he said so he looked in the mirror and went to therapy. And in regard to the cheating, he said he slept with one of his homegirls after the club. He said he didn't have the strength to tell her no, like she followed him to the bathroom. And, you know, they got busy, I guess. He said he instantly regretted it. He said he actually didn't have his car at the time, so he called his mom to come get him, and he drove straight to his girlfriend's house to tell her. So within 3 hours of it happening, his girlfriend knew about it. He says they broke up and he got back together, and he spent a lot of time trying to make up for that action within the relationship. So he talks about his therapy journey, you know, getting rid of that guilt and shame and learning to self-trust and self-love. He does say that his ex didn't know that he was going on the show. He said they had each other blocked on everything. He said that they had like an amicable breakup, and then he said then they blocked each other on everything. He said he has nothing bad to say about her. He wishes her the best. I'm sure that was a motherfucking surprise seeing him on Love Island. And yeah, that was basically it. It was a really good interview. I listened to it because the visual is not out yet. I believe Hannah's going to be on tomorrow. So if you guys want me to recap that, let me know. She was also on Chicks in the Office, so I can recap that as well. Unfortunately, I don't think Jeremiah's coming back. The fact that he is doing interviews, he's talking to family already and watching the show, it's not a